News 46 is brought to you by Bees Embroidery and Garment Printing, specializing in custom and personalized decoration of gifts, garments, and more. Call 775-727-9444. News is also brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson.
Tonight on News 46, an unusual meeting is held at the BOCC chambers.
A breakthrough negotiation for our local airport.
And 2 people are injured in a vehicle accident. News 46 starts now.
You're watching KPVM News 46 with Monique Mitchell and Eunette Gentry. Local coverage from Deanna O'Donnell. News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, May 11th, 2016. I'm Monique Mitchell.
And I'm Eunette Gentry for News 46.
Well, an impromptu meeting was held last night in the county chambers in the Calvada Eye. What was first announced as a meeting regarding Syrian refugees possibly coming to Pahrump quickly turned out to be a public gathering shortly after training with law enforcement officers that took an unusual turn. After research into the speaker at this meeting, John Guandolo is an extremely controversial figure that goes under the guise that he is giving facts to community members while allegedly selling ideas in books that claim that most Muslims are terrorists.
Former FBI agent John Guandolo spoke at the Board of County Commissioners' chambers last night to a group after training our law enforcement officers, county officials, and others allegedly about how to understand a threat when it comes to terrorism. Members of the public were invited to hear Guandolo speak and ask questions. Guandolo was dismissed from the FBI for a number of ethical breaches, bizarre conduct, and an affair, according to reports. Guandolo has devoted himself to a rabid brand of anti-Muslim activism, working closely with some of the most powerful and influential anti-Muslim groups in the U.S. The training of our law enforcement officers reportedly was professional, with none of the racial, religious, and factless statements which occurred last night during the public meeting. Some say the fact that Guandolo is still able to train law enforcement following his disgraced exit from the FBI is troubling.
So a Muslim is someone who submits to Islam. Islam means submission. It does not mean peace like you hear on TV. It means submission. And a Muslim is one who submits to Islam and submits to the will of Allah. If you submit to Allah, you submit to His law. That's how you do it. The obligation of a Muslim is to obey Sharia. That's it. Because it's the law that comes from Allah. The idea of God being a father, this being a family, there's no concept of that in Islam. Love thy neighbor, love thy enemy, do unto others. No concept of that in Islam. A Muslim is one who obeys the Sharia, because that's how you submit. Well, one of the arguments you hear that Islam is peaceful, or whatever the excuse is, well, you know, they're killing as many Muslims as they are non-Muslims. The reality is there are men and women and boys and girls who are inside Islamic cultures and families who would love to get out. Right? Well, how do you think all these girls that are getting killed from the United States and Europe that are converting, you think they're telling them, hey, we're going to go wage jihad overseas? No. They talk very nicely to them. As a matter of fact, that same book instructs them on how to present. The following are not subject to retaliation? Correct. Okay? So I want to make sure you don't think I'm just making this up. And then it says, who's not subject to retaliation? A father or mother for killing their offspring or their offspring's offspring.
How can they teach this in our schools?
Isn't that, that's what it says right there, right? Correct. Yeah.
They're teaching this at home?
They're teaching this in Islamic schools here in the United States, because why wouldn't they teach this? Crucifixions, beheadings, stonings, Allah said it. So it's done.
News 46 contacted Bombard Renewable Energy yesterday regarding a story we did about the glare bothering pilots from the community solar plant owned by Valley Electric Association on Simpkins Road. Last night, pilot Roy Mankins received a call from Bombard with some very good news. Following our interview with Mankins from yesterday, Bombard is now willing to work with the local pilots to fix the issue they had with glare. We caught up with Roy Mankins this morning.
I got a phone call from Bombard Electric. It turns out that they do have a mitigation plan in place. They are planning on either building a 30-foot screen wall around the property to stop the sun or at least mitigate the problem. And then they're going to explore the possibility of actually growing trees and landscaping so the trees will block the wind. I want to thank Bo, the manager at Bombard. They do that. Everything is just going to be great. He did inform me that Bombard was going to be the contractor. They are going to run the site for the next 25 years. They're not going anywhere. So we're very happy.
Good. So they got back to you pretty quickly, and this looks like it's going to make it all better for the pilots flying in. It's going to be on the west side, that screen?
Yes, it will, and it should pretty much eliminate the problems. There will still probably be some glare in the air, but there's always going to be glare in the air from a solar plant, and we could just avoid that. The only real issue was on the ground level approaching the airstrip, and they're going to fix that. So we want to thank them and welcome them to Pahrump.
Well, Hyperloop demonstrated its new transportation tube this morning in North Las Vegas. The tube hopes to whisk people and cargo through tubes at hundreds of miles per hour. The California-based company announced that it had closed an $80 million round of financing. Developers say it could transport people from Los Angeles to San Francisco in 30 minutes and could be as revolutionary to transportation as the internet has been to society at large. Hyperloop One hopes to conduct a full-scale, full-speed test of its technology by the end of this year. All right, folks, we'll keep it here because we're going to have more local news for you after these messages.